Red Bull pace is looking menacing. Yuki has been given a huge opportunity to replace Perez. Lewis Hamilton's recent performances are concerning. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get straight into the latest F1 news. A late crash for George Russell protected Lando Norris and his US GP pole position in what was a rough outing all round for Mercedes. Before Russell found the barriers at turn 19, teammate Lewis Hamilton had suffered a shock Q1 elimination, with Russell's crash restricting Red Bull's sprint winner and Drivers' Championship leader Max Verstappen to a spot on the front row. The sprint action was complete in Austin, as the US Grand Prix weekend moved on to qualifying. Could Verstappen make it a double pole? Sauber had Valtteri Bottas' car ready for the start of Q1, following a fire on the rear corners after the sprint. Speaking of the sprint, Fernando Alonso and Liam Lawson got involved in quite the spat, Alonso calling his racing rival from that event an idiot, and that clash continued early in FP1 as Lawson took to team radio claiming Alonso was carrying things on, the Spaniard passing Lawson on their outlap. "He's doing exactly what he said he would do," Lawson lamented. Verstappen was setting the early pace, just over 3/10 up on title rival Norris, who was sat on an identical time to that of Verstappen's Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez. Yuki Tsunoda had both of his attempts deleted for track limits breaches. No such troubles for Charles Leclerc and Ferrari as he hit the front on a 1:33.241, while Alpine's Pierre Gasly impressively popped up to P2, 3/10 off the pace. Lance Stroll was noted by the stewards for potentially impeding Nico Hülkenberg. Verstappen clocked a 1:33.046 to top Q1 from Leclerc, while at the other end, Hamilton was out. A shock Q1 casualty after a critical turn 12 error. Breaching track limits there saw that time deleted for good measure. The Williams pair of Alex Albon and Franco Colapinto, plus the Saubers of Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu, joined Hamilton in elimination. Hamilton will be spared a last-row start, as Lawson takes a back-of-the-grid engine penalty into Grand Prix Sunday. Verstappen went with used softs for his opening Q2 run, setting a 1:33.052 as the benchmark to chase. Norris was on new softs and put them to use by going 2/10 clear of Verstappen, though it was perhaps not the buffer McLaren would have hoped for, while for Piastri it was P3 only. Verstappen responded with a 1:32.584 to return to P1, 0.267 up on Norris, who was shuffled down to P3 by Sainz. V-Carb were trying to use Lawson to give Tsunoda a tow, though Tsunoda was not happy with how the attempt was going so far, sending instructions to be passed on to Lawson so that he would not be kicking dust up into his visor. Tsunoda fell just short of the Q3 cut, with Nico Hülkenberg, Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, and Lawson also out. With Verstappen topping both segments so far, did anyone have an answer in Q3 to deny the Dutchman a double pole in Austin? The opening run suggested Norris could be up to that task, as the McLaren driver took provisional pole by 0.03 from Verstappen. Gasly was noted for a potential unsafe release, as he was sent into Verstappen's path in the pit lane as the final runs brewed. Verstappen went purple in Sector 1, but George Russell was in the wall at turn 19. He was fine, but the same was not true for Verstappen's pole position hopes. That honor went to Norris as the yellow flags brought qualifying to a premature end. Former FIA official Laurent Mekies has shared his thoughts on the current state of trust within Formula One, emphasizing that even though there are numerous aspects of an F1 car that may seem dubious, the Formula One community can rely on the FIA to ensure that no one is violating the rules that govern the sport. Recently, as Formula One resumed its activities at the United States Grand Prix, Red Bull Racing found itself in the headlines. This was due to a report that surfaced concerning a specific mechanism that one of the teams had cleverly incorporated into their car, so commonly referred to as a bib trick. This innovative system, which involves the adjustment of the car's bib or T-tray, has the potential to significantly alter the airflow beneath the vehicle. Such adjustments play a crucial role in enhancing the car's downforce, which is vital for optimal performance on the track. The report indicated that this adjustment could enable the team to make modifications between the qualifying rounds and the actual Grand Prix. However, that practice is strictly against the regulations set forth by Formula One. In response to the report, Red Bull acknowledged that they indeed had such a system in place. Nevertheless, the team asserted that it was not used under parc fermé conditions, as accessing it is quite complex and would not be feasible during that time. Following the incident, Red Bull arranged a demonstration for the FIA shortly after the opening practice session in Austin. During this presentation, they clarified how the mechanism for adjusting the bib height of their car is operated. MICK, who has a background in safety with the FIA, believes that even if some of their competitors are hesitant to place their trust in the intricacies hidden within the RB20, or any F1 car for that matter, they can have full confidence that the FIA is fully aware of the happenings throughout a Grand Prix weekend. MICK addressed the media during a press conference held on Friday in Austin, stating, "During my time at the FIA, I cultivated a strong belief in their capabilities and integrity. The reality is that there are many aspects of a race car that you simply cannot trust. Furthermore, the rules surrounding parc ferme are not new. They have been in place for the last 15 years. He continued his explanation by emphasizing that for the past decade and a half, the FIA has been diligently monitoring the mechanics of race teams to ensure no adjustments were made during the critical period from qualifying to the race. This has been an established protocol, so I don't see this as a fresh issue that should cause increased anxiety. Teams can adjust components like the front or rear ride height, the anti-roll bar, or even damping settings relatively easily. However, it is the responsibility of the FIA to ensure that no modifications take place during this window." MICK concluded by highlighting the strict measures in place, including the presence of cameras and marshals who supervise the garages continuously during the time between qualifying and the race. He firmly believes that ensuring compliance with the specifications of the car should not be regarded as a new concern, reinforcing that the regulations have long been established to maintain fairness in the sport. Christian Horner, the team principal of Red Bull, has weighed in on the situation, suggesting that the uproar surrounding what has been dubbed Bibgate is somewhat exaggerated by their competitors. "Every F1 car is equipped with tools that can adjust the front of the bib," he pointed out. "Our adjustment system has been installed at the front of the car, just in front of the footwell, for over 3 years now." Horner further elaborated that accessing this mechanism isn't straightforward. One must remove various components like the pedals and other panels, as well as some pipework to reach it. "If anyone thinks there's a simple handbrake or lever that the drivers can effortlessly activate to switch between low, medium, and high settings, I'm afraid I have to clarify that's not the case at all," he stated, aiming to dispel any misconceptions about the operation of their bib adjustment system. Honda has made a formal request for Yuki Tsunoda to receive a test with Red Bull Racing in order to evaluate his capabilities as a potential replacement for Sergio Perez for the upcoming 2025 Formula One season. This move comes as part of Honda's ongoing strategy to support promising drivers within the F1 landscape. Since becoming the engine partner for Red Bull back in 2019, Honda has established a solid and beneficial relationship with the team. They have provided the powerful engines that have propelled Max Verstappen to victory, helping him achieve 3 consecutive world championships starting in 2021. However, there remains considerable uncertainty regarding who will be Verstappen's teammate in the next season, particularly as Sergio Perez has struggled to secure any podium finishes since the Chinese Grand Prix back in April. Even though Perez signed a new 2-year contract in June, he faced intense scrutiny and was very close to being let go by Red Bull during the August break. Ultimately, the decision was made to retain him as they entered the latter part of the season, but there is an anticipation that Red Bull will reassess their driver lineup as they prepare for the 2025 season. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has hinted at a broader strategy behind their recent decision to replace Daniel Ricciardo with Liam Lawson at their junior team VCARB for the final 6 races of the current season. Despite Lawson's lack of extensive experience in F1, there is speculation that he could become a serious contender to take over Perez's seat if he performs well during this period. On the other hand, Lawson's teammate at VCARB, Yuki Tsunoda, has not received much attention in discussions regarding Red Bull's driver future. During the recent United States Grand Prix, Tsunoda addressed the media, including representatives from PlanetF1.com, expressing his desire to influence the team's decision and convince them to consider him more seriously. However, sources from PlanetF1.com suggest that it is unlikely Tsunoda will be chosen, even if Red Bull ultimately decides to move on from Perez. Honda has been instrumental in supporting Tsunoda's racing career from an early stage, which has been crucial for him securing a spot in Formula One with VCARB, previously known as AlphaTauri, back in 2021. Koji Watanabe, who heads Honda's racing activities, confirmed to the press that the manufacturer has officially requested that Tsunoda be given the opportunity to test a Red Bull car, and he mentioned that Horner is open to this idea. Watanabe stated to Motorsport.com that their aim is for Tsunoda to put in the hard work required to earn a seat at Red Bull Racing, as they firmly believe in his talent. He emphasized that while the ultimate decision regarding driver selections rests with Red Bull, as a partner, Honda has made a strong request for Tsunoda to be allowed to demonstrate his skills behind the wheel of a Red Bull car. Watanabe noted that they want to at least provide him with the chance to showcase what he can do on the track. With his discussions directly with Christian Horner, he mentioned that nothing is set in stone yet, indicating there's still room for possibilities as they look to the future. The notion of Honda proposing a test for Tsunoda is particularly interesting, given that both parties are expected to part ways at the conclusion of the next F1 season, as Honda is entering a technical partnership with Aston Martin, which is a direct competitor to Red Bull, starting in the 2026 season. Despite this future separation, Mr. Watanabe is confident that the end of Honda's collaboration with Red Bull will not hinder Tsunoda's chances of securing a seat on the main team. He believes strongly that the 24-year-old driver has the potential to evolve into a world champion in the years to come. Watanabe further elaborated that if everything falls into place and Tsunoda's abilities are recognized, he could potentially stay with Red Bull beyond 2026 and compete for championships. He added that it would be advantageous for Tsunoda to become more ingrained as a driver for Red Bull, noting that his departure from Honda is not necessarily a definitive end to their relationship. He concluded by stressing that Tsunoda's immediate priority should be focused on obtaining a seat with Red Bull, and that if that is truly his goal, he should actively pursue it with determination and dedication. Fernando Alonso has aimed a fresh dig at Liam Lawson after branding the Red Bull V-Carb driver an idiot over team radio during the United States Grand Prix sprint race. Lawson is making his first F1 appearance in more than a year in Austin, Texas, this weekend after replacing veteran Daniel Ricciardo for the final 6 races of the F1 2024 season. Despite showing promising pace at the Circuit of the Americas on Friday, the New Zealander had to settle for 15th place on the sprint race grid, 1 place behind Aston Martin star Alonso, after both drivers had laps deleted for track limits breaches in SQ2. The pair almost came to blows in the early laps of the mini-race, as Lawson aggressively blocked Alonso on the back straight, with both drivers losing positions to Alpine's Esteban Ocon just a few corners later. Alonso was heard commenting over team radio, "Man, the AlphaTauri driver is such an idiot." Lawson and Alonso were later seen having an animated conversation in Parc Ferme at the conclusion of the sprint, as the 2-time world champion voiced his displeasure with the 22-year-old. Lawson remains without a confirmed seat for the F1 2025 seat, with rumors indicating that he could emerge as a serious contender to replace Sergio Perez at Red Bull for next season with a strong end to the current campaign. Alonso hinted that the uncertainty surrounding his future may have contributed to Lawson's aggressive move in the sprint race, remarking that his career is at stake over the next 6 races. He told Spanish media, "Too much action may be from Lawson, who has 6 races to prove things. I don't think it's the best way, but it's his career at stake and not mine." Alonso's comments come after long-serving Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko declared himself satisfied with Lawson's return to action. Speaking exclusively to PlanetF1.com's US editor Elizabeth Blackstock on Friday in Austin, Marko said, "He did basically a very good job. He was unlucky with track limits in sprint qualifying, so he was eliminated, but in SQ1 he was faster than Yuki. He never has been on this track, so it's okay." Lawson will serve a 60-place grid penalty for Sunday's main race at the United States Grand Prix following a change of engine. F1 rules state that engine components are allocated to each car, not the driver, with Lawson inheriting Ricciardo's pool of parts from this weekend. With only 20 cars in F1, Lawson will start from the back of grid and will carry no additional penalties into the next race in Mexico. It was like the Max Verstappen and Red Bull of old in the Austin F1 sprint, the championship leader declaring, "We're racing again." Not since June's Spanish Grand Prix has Verstappen experienced victory in Formula One, but the United States GP sprint offered a golden opportunity for Verstappen to return to winning ways from pole. Verstappen delivered, driving his upgraded RB20 from pole to sprint victory. With title rival Lando Norris forced to settle for P3, having been passed late on by Ferrari's Carlos Sainz, Verstappen was able to reverse the trend by extending his F1 2024 championship lead over Norris from 52 to 54 points, having seen Norris whittle down his lead to spark hope of a title challenge. However, Verstappen's reaction to his US GP F1 sprint win carried ominous tones. Asked how it felt in the RB20 having looked in complete control, Verstappen replied, "It was not too bad, yeah, it feels a bit like old times. Yeah, I'm very happy with today. I think, of course, if you look at the whole race, Ferrari was also very quick, but I think for us, finally, we're racing again. Normally in the race, we're always looking back behind us, but now we could just do our own race, and yeah, we had good pace." That makes it 11 of F1's sprint races won for Verstappen. So asked where this sprint specialist streak comes from, Verstappen quipped, "Probably because I don't like it." An F1 sprint weekend offers just the 1 hour of practice for teams to get their setup sorted for the sprint action. Verstappen reasoning Red Bull have done a good job with this process. Asked what it would be like if he did like the F1 sprint races, Verstappen replied, "I don't know. I mean, it's, of course, always a very hectic weekend like this, to get the car in the right window. But luckily, the last few times that we had a sprint that I think the car was in a good window. So yeah, it's a bit more pressure on delivering, but luckily it's working out for us." Should Verstappen secure his 4th title in F1 2024, it would see him match Sebastian Vettel's streak of 4 consecutive titles with Red Bull, which the German pulled off between 2010-13. Mattia Binotto met with Audi hopeful Mick Schumacher in Austin, letting the German know that he had not decided the team's 2025 lineup, despite Valtteri Bottas's "waiting for the green light" comment. Audi, which will contest next year's championship under the Sauber name for the final time, is the only non-Red Bull team on the grid with an open seat for next season. At least they had an open seat before Bottas hinted it was his for the taking, when he told the media, including PlanetF1.com in Austin, that he had agreed terms with Audi and was now just waiting for the go-ahead. "Correct," he replied when directly asked if that was the situation. "We've been in touch on a weekly basis and I know the terms that I'm up for. Just basically waiting for the green light." But according to Binotto, no decision has been made, and that's what he told Schumacher when he met with him in Austin. After 2 years on the sidelines after being unceremoniously dumped by Haas at the end of the 2022 season, Schumacher is keen to return to the sport with Audi his plan A. "I told him that nothing has been decided yet," Binotto told Sky Italia before confirming that Schumacher was definitely on his shortlist. "But I can't say anything more at the moment." Binotto, who took up the role of Audi's chief operating and chief technical officer in August, knows Schumacher well from their days together at Ferrari. He, however, won't let emotions guide his decision. "I think we get on very well. It has to be a decision of the mind, not an emotional decision." Although a month ago, it appeared as if Schumacher's chances of returning to the Formula One grid were officially over, as reports claimed Bottas was about to pen to paper on a 1-year extension, that was followed by suggestions the Finn's talks with Binotto had stalled with the duration of the deal and his salary emerging as sticking points. Around that time, Binotto confirmed to Corriere dello Sport that Schumacher, 25, was on Audi's radar. "Definitely, we are evaluating him," he said. "I have met and talked to him. I have known him for a long time, having been part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. I know the merits and advantages of him. He is one of the names we have in mind." He made it clear he's in no hurry to decide Hülkenberg's F1 2025 teammate, saying, "We have the luxury of not being in a hurry, all the other teams having decided on their lineup." Franco Colapinto, the Williams driver, and McLaren Jr. Gabriel Bortoleto have also been linked with Audi F1 for next season. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.